Paper 2, question 2. Here is a list of ingredients for making 18 mince pies. Elaine wants to make 45 mince pies and she has a selection of a certain amount of butter, flour, sugar, mincemeat and eggs. And you have to figure out whether or not she has enough of each ingredient. This is a pretty decent direct proportion question. So all of these, you need to figure out how much you would require for 45 mince pies, then compare it with the list you have there, or in other words, what Elaine has in her larder, and whether or not all the values you get are greater than or less than will dictate whether or not you have enough or don't have enough, and you'll be able to answer the question. The key to this question is the fact that the list you've been given to start with is what you need for 18 mince pies, and what you need is for 45 mince pies. Okay, so here's the way you look at it. 18 mince pies, you have all of that stuff, and 45 mince pies, you require certain amounts, right? And it's how you go from the number 18 to the number 45. In other words, what sums can you multiply and divide by, or divide by and multiply by, to go from the number 18 to 45. Once you figure out what sums you're doing there, it'll let you know what you have to do to all of them to get the amounts that you require for 45. Or another way of looking at it would be looking at it as a scale factor. So this 18, if you multiply it by a k, what do I need to times 18 by to get 45? That value there would be what I need to multiply all those by to tell you how much of each ingredient you need. Direct proportion method I'm referring to here is if you pick a number that goes into both of these, so for example 9, in order to go from 18 mince pies to 9 mince pies, you'd be dividing by 2. And then to go from 9 mince pies to 45 mince pies, you would multiply by 5. So divide by 2 times by 5, or times by 5 divided by 2. You end up with the same value as this k here. If I divide both sides by k here, when I do that in my calculator, I actually get 2.5. Alright, so multiplying by 2.5 is why I need to do all these. Similarly here, if you divide by 2 times 5, or vice versa, that is the same as doing this. So that's two quick, completely different ways of figuring out what you need to multiply by to get your answer. So now all we have to do with all of them is actually multiply them by 2.5. So for the butter, 225 times 2.5 gives me 562.5, and it's important to note here that as you're going through these one at a time, if you ever find one ingredient that you don't have enough of, the question's over really, because if you don't have enough of one ingredient, it doesn't really matter whether or not you've got enough of the rest. You're not going to be able to make those particular mince pies because it's got to be done in the way that the recipe dictates. That is less than the 1 kilogram or the 1,000 grams that you have of butter. So you could put therefore, okay, butter is fine, we've got enough of that. Flour. $350 times 2.5 gives us $875. Again, this is less than the 1 kilogram or the 1,000 grams of flour you have. Therefore, okay, so that's 2 down, 3 to go. Sugar. I'll go back to purple for sugar. You're going to multiply that 100 by 2.5. You get 250. You were given 500 grams of sugar, that's less than it. Therefore, we're okay for sugar as well. Mincemeat, let's call it MM. Yep, there's 280 multiplied by 2.5. That gives us 700. Now here's the problem, we only have 600 grams of mincemeat, so because of the fact that one of these ingredients, what we need, is more than what we have, it's basically not okay. I don't even need to look at the eggs, and even if you maybe did the eggs first, quick check, 1 egg times 2.5 gives you 2.5 eggs, we have 6, so we're going to be fine. But I didn't need to do that, because as soon as I've reached this, it's not okay. Now you need to make your conclusions. So, does Elaine have enough of each ingredient to make mince pies? You must clearly show how you got your answer. That's you showing all the workings of how you got your answer. Between that and however you get 2.5 as the scale factor. All I need to do now is stipulate that there is not enough mincemeat to make 45 mince pies. Job done.